Well. Clemson Tiger fans, college football fans, welcome back to another episode of the All In Show here on the Voice of College Football Clemson channel. Thank you so much for joining me. I got my boy Jordan Bowman waiting for me in the back. He'll be joining me momentarily. But before we get into tonight's show, the Tigers got it done against the South Carolina Gamecocks tonight. It was a rivalry game to end all rivalry games. It wasn't pretty, but the Tigers got it done. And that is what is most important. 16-7. It wasn't like I predicted. Obviously, if you guys watched the preview show between me and Jordan Bowman, obviously I predicted Clemson to do much more favorably on the offensive side of the ball. But that did not happen, and we'll get into it tonight. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button for us. It really helps us out on growing this channel. This is also a live video. This is a Clemson post-game live video. So hit that like button for us. Help us grow the channel. I see there's 40 people in here right now. You guys have already gotten to the comment section. Please continue commenting. Me and Jordan will get to your comments a little bit later in the show. But without further ado, I will bring on my co-host, fan favorite, Jordan Bowman. Jordan, how you doing tonight, man?
Probably better than however my camera is doing because I know I look a mess. But I'm doing good. My good Lord, my webcam is plugging in and out, and so now I'm using like my laptop cam, and it looks terrible. So apologies for that. I'll try to fix that. But other than that, I'm doing great. I've been indulging in a little bit of the alcohol tonight, so I just am really happy and glad that this team was able to get it done. I know it wasn't pretty, a lot of that game, but it's been a long year, and I think this fan base needed this win, and they deserved this win. It's been a roller coaster, and we know how we felt after last year, and it's just nice to have this trophy back where it belongs, and really off the backs of just a dominant defensive performance at pretty much all levels. One of the better ones in rivalry history.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, the defense came out hot and heavy early and often in this game. They quieted this South Carolina crowd in the upside down cockroach that is Willie Bryce Stadium. And they really kind of took the soul out of those fans. It was something to see for the Clemson Tigers to come in and really dominate early in this game, specifically on the defense side of the ball. The offense played absolutely terribly today. We'll get into it on the offensive side of the ball, but specifically, just focusing on the defensive side of the ball and the good things before we get into the bad. I mean, the defense came to play tonight. They absolutely quieted the crowd early and often in Willie Bryce Stadium tonight. It was something to be seen. The first two drives for the Gamecocks ended in turnovers, both by Khalil Barnes. He did not force the original turnover, but he did run it in for the first touchdown for the Tigers tonight. And then the Gamecocks came promptly out and threw an interception directly to Khalil Barnes again. So talk about your feelings initially as the game was starting. How nervous were you heading into this game? And then how good did you feel to see how quickly the defense responded in this game?
Well, To answer the first question about how nervous I was heading into this game, I mean, I think if you guys listen to our pregame show, I picked this to be a tight game. I picked 26-19 was my final score. I thought it was not that that was a score fitting of how I thought the game would play out. And it turns out I gave both offenses too much credit. But I think Khalil Barnes setting the tone. He didn't technically force that turnover, that first fumble, but that was just a heads up play, recognizing that it was a backwards pass. Because no other Clemson defender was interested in trying to pick up the ball, and so Khalil Barnes went and scooped it up and realized the play hadn't been blown dead, and ran it all the way back. Like that's the IQ. Like that's the IQ you would expect from a junior or a senior, a guy, someone who's played a lot of football. But Khalil Barnes is just a true freshman, and just his knack for an understanding, like situational awareness and understanding that, I can go get this football. And, because the worst they can do is blow it dead and say it was a incomplete pass. But if I take it back, that paid dividends. And obviously that was the only touchdown Clemson scored the entire night. And so it just kind of set the tone, and it kind of took the crowd out of it for a little bit. And I thought that was good. And it gave this offense a cushion to work with and a chance to kind of settle in. And even the defense needed to settle down in that first quarter a little bit. They gave up some plays and some, a couple of chunk runs and some bad penalties in that first quarter. But it gave them time to settle in. And once they settled in, South Carolina had nothing to offer at all. Spencer Rattler was under duress. I mean, credit to him. That guy is one of the toughest Gamecock quarterbacks I've ever seen. He might be like I used to say that Dylan Thompson back in 2014 when he had like one of the worst defenses in the country, but he was still putting up numbers. I used to say that that was him and Connor Shaw were two of the toughest Gamecock quarterbacks I'd ever seen. But man, Spencer Rattler, just watching him and how he played, I got to give him some credit because he took a beating tonight, and there wasn't a lot open for him in the passing game. I know he threw that interception, but you got to try and make plays when you're at such a disadvantage on the offensive side of the ball. But man, it was very pleasing to see how this defense settled in and really got it in, and really imposed their will after that first quarter. And that was pretty much it. And the offense did the bare minimum. Shout out. And I guess Jonathan White's, I mean, what can you say? Nobody expected this kind of performance from him, and we haven't seen anything close to it this year. But he showed up today, and he was the difference in the game for you offensively, because it wasn't Cade Klubnik, it wasn't the receivers. I thought Shipley and Maffa played fine. They played well. They didn't turn the ball over, and they got chunky yardage. And obviously the final rushing statistics look pretty decent. 219 rushing yards, 4.8 per carry. But South Carolina was stuffing the run at times. But the offense did just enough. They created enough offense to possess the ball for long periods of time, and kind of wear down that South Carolina defense and create short, tough field position for the South Carolina offense. So, that's kind of been the formula for this team at this point, is winning time of possession and winning the field position battle, and it's done them well. That's not what this offense wants to be, but you do what you got to do to get the win.
Yeah, look, Jordan, this was a game that Clemson absolutely needed to win. It was a game that Clemson, not only needed to win because of what happened last season in this game, but it was a game that Clemson needed to win to complete their kind of momentum heading into the offseason. And that's not to say that Clemson does not have their problems heading into the offseason. All the problems that were very apparent when Clemson, before Clemson went on this 3-4 game winning streak, are still there. The coaching staff problems, the development problems, they're all still there for this Clemson Tigers team. However, it makes it a lot more palatable for a Clemson fan base when you see them go out there and play with heart, play with grit, and absolutely dominate the last portion of their schedule, which is what Clemson did for the most part. And, you know, as much as I like what Clemson did in the second part of their season, what I don't want is for Clemson fans to forget the problems that have gone on with this team throughout the 2023 campaign. So, what I would like you to talk about a little bit, Jordan, before we move on to this really, really good victory that we got tonight. I don't care what the score is. I don't care the narrow victory that we had. I honestly could care less what the score is. But what I would like you to talk about before we turn the page and really celebrate this victory that we had tonight is, you know, what do we need to see happen in the Clemson program for them to be successful going forward and for them to become a nationally recognized program and for them to be back in the national championship competition? What do you need to see from this Clemson team? What changes do you need to see? Does any of these wins change your opinion of how you felt before Clemson went on this run?
No. Obviously, this is something we've reiterated throughout this. You know, there still needs to be changes. There still needs to be a hard look and self-evaluation of, you know, kind of, how the program is running, and, you know, the coaching staff and all of that, and what things philosophy-wise need to change. I don't feel any different. But like you said, it's a lot more palatable to recognize that changes need to be made, but you won the game. So at the end of the day, this is kind of like how I felt after Notre Dame. It was kind of like, okay, we can, this is a good win, and we can talk about, big picture stuff, later in the week. But so I don't want to spend too much time on what needs to change and all the negative stuff, because I don't know. This was a game I expected to be ugly and not pretty. Maybe not this ugly, but that's just what this team has been on the road, and that was what concerned me heading into this game. Was people thought we turned the corner, but like we said, all those 3 wins, but prior to this, were all at home, and this team has just looked like a different team at home. I mean, whether it's really, other than the Wake Forest game, they haven't played all that poorly at home. They gave Florida State all they could handle. They beat North Carolina. They beat Notre Dame, beat Georgia Tech, beat North Carolina. And when they went on the road, it wasn't as pretty. Other than Syracuse, you get walloped week 1 at Duke, and then you drop 2 straight to NC State and Miami. Or Miami and NC State in that order. So it's like this team has been a different team on the road. And I was like, man, these 3 games doesn't make me think that anything has really changed, significantly. Maybe the frequency of the turnovers and the shooting yourself in the foot may have decreased, and that was good. Clemson, other than that interception, Clemson didn't do a lot to just flat out lose themselves the game. That's progress within itself on the road. I mean, it was really just one interception that, hey, that was just a poor decision. I don't understand why. I mean, you're playing, you have the ball in their territory, and you're throwing it up to, Tyler Brown, who is a very talented receiver, but he's matched up on a 6'2", 220 plus safety. That has a size advantage on him, and he's with him step for step. Like, that's a tough ask.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
yeah, it's. I mean, I know Clemson fans were upset and thought maybe there was PI, but hey, they're both were hand fighting, and you probably could have called it on OPI on Tyler Brown because he kind of yanked him down. That was just a great play by Nick Emenwari. But other than that, you didn't shoot yourself in the foot. Special teams was about as lights out as it has been all year. Just every part of special teams clicked, from the punting to the Hamp Green did no harm in the return game. That was good. And obviously Jonathan White's making two basically 50+ yarders. I did not have that on my bingo card. That was
a shout out to Jonathan Weiss for coming through in this game. He absolutely dominated. You can't expect anything more out of that guy. It's been a 50-50 season for sure for him in the kicking game, and he came out here and absolutely dominated in this game. One of the things that I do want to kind of get your opinion on, Jordan, is let me tell you what the first half of the game looked like for the Clemson Tigers and the South Carolina Gamecocks when it came to this game. Everybody saw how this game got introduced, right? There was a fumble score. Everybody saw that play. It was reviewed. It was a backward pass. Khalil Barnes picked it up. He returned it for a touchdown, and Clemson went up 7-0. And then the immediate next drive, they threw a deep pass. Khalil Barnes intercepted it, and then Clemson immediately went 3-and-out. South Carolina went 66 yards for a touchdown. There was an extreme hold on that play there where they punched it in for a touchdown. They held the crap out of the defensive line for Clemson.
Yeah, they did.
And it ended up in a touchdown. They showed it several times on the SEC network, and I just remember sitting back and thinking, honestly, I'm not trying to make excuses for Clemson, but that was one of the biggest holds I've seen. And then Clemson right out. They get a field goal, 42 yards, 11 plays. They kick a field goal. And then, South Carolina comes right out. They do 15 yards punt. Clemson comes out. They go 31 yards punt on 8 plays. South Carolina comes right out. They go 3-and-out. Clemson gets the ball. They go 18 yards, field goal on 7 plays. South Carolina comes right back out. They go 3-and-out again. And then Clemson goes 8 yards on 6 plays, and they punt. South Carolina goes out, 3-and-out once again. And then Clemson ends the half with that series that we saw at the end of the half. So that was kind of the first half as far as the offense goes. For me, it was not like I thought it would be for the Clemson offense. I thought the Clemson offense would have much more success against the South Carolina defense. What was your kind of, what was your kind of, just kind of, what did you see from the Clemson offense in that first half? Because they looked like they truly struggled to put drives together. They truly looked like they struggled to gain yards consistently. So what was the problem with the Clemson offense in the first half against this South Carolina defense?
Yeah, it really was just more of the same of what we've seen a lot of the year. Offensive line getting kind of stonewalled at times in the run game. Cade just not seeing the field very well. Just putting the ball in danger a couple of times. That really he should have had another interception in this game. Obviously, it was fortunate that it was dropped by O'Donnell Fortune. That could have been a massive swing in momentum. Who knows what happens there? So just it felt like the offense in general was just not in sync at all. Between the run game. The run game was about the only thing that they were getting yardage in at some point, but between the Cade making poor reads, not hitting guys, and receivers drop. I mean, the receiver drops were a bigger problem than they've been in the last couple of weeks, and that was disappointing. And yeah, you're without two of your top guys. Well, really three of your top guys, but you've been without Cole Turner all year. But you don't have Bo Collins, you don't have Antonio Williams, and obviously that makes a difference. And you can see why those guys play a lot of ball when they're healthy. It just was not a very cohesive offensive, just performance. I didn't think like the play calling was really much the issue. It was just poor execution. Offensive line got beat at times in protection as well. Just was not a banner day, and the drops weren't great. And that's just kind of is what it is. That's kind of what this offense has been on the road pretty much all year, and it traveled. But luckily, your defense was in position to make plays that they couldn't in some of the previous games. They actually were able to bail you out, like they weren't in the Miami game and the NC State game. So it was good. The offense wasn't good, but it was good that the defense was able to pick them up because they needed it tonight, and every bit of it. Or this is probably we're talking about a different result tonight.
Absolutely,
that first half was brutal.
Yeah, and look, turning the page to the second half of this Clemson South Carolina game, Clemson came in on the second half, and they went 50 yards. They scored a field goal on 6 plays. South Carolina went 3 and out. Clemson went 29 yards. Cade threw an INT in the back of the end zone, an inexplicable pass that he should have never thrown. And then South Carolina went 15 yards, punted on 6 plays. Clemson went 43 yards, punted on 11 plays. South Carolina went 3 and out. Clemson went 3 and out. South Carolina went 39 yards, punted on 5 plays. Clemson went 32 yards, punted on 6 plays. And then South Carolina went 39 yards, punted on downs. And then that is how the game ended. It was not an offensive fest for this game. It was truly an offensive struggle for both sides in this game. Both defenses bowed up in this game. Both defenses showed their prowess. Both defenses showed why they are who they are. I thought that Clemson's offense would fare far better against the South Carolina defense. What is your thoughts on why Clemson's offense was not able to really move the ball consistently against this South Carolina defense?
Well, I mean, we talked about it in the pregame show, the preview show on Thursday or Friday. And see, I keep wanting to. It's force of habit. I keep always wanting to say it was Thursday, but obviously we did it yesterday. Okay. Hey, listen, the South Carolina defense had been playing better in recent weeks. They had made some schematic adjustments, and they were in a position where they did a good job of, confusing Cade, doing a lot of things, pre-snap and changing their looks, post-snap, kind of like that. That's the hallmark of a 3-3-5. And Cade has shown that he doesn't really play against those defenses very well. It forces the quarterback to make reads because you don't know where the pressure is coming from, and you have to be able to see the field and diagnose quickly where the pressure is coming from and what the coverage is. And Cade is nowhere close to being proficient at that. And South Carolina knows that. That's something that's been shown on film countless times this year. So they did a good job of scheming it up, dialing up different pressures and making Cade uncomfortable. And he wasn't seeing the field very well. And that's something that, that's just something this Clemson offense has struggled with all year. I mean, South Carolina's defense has not been good for the majority of the season, but they made changes, and Clemson has shown those weaknesses on film all season, and they did a good job of executing their game plan, and their defense kept them in it pretty much the entire game. It wasn't perfect, and obviously Clemson's offense was able to generate more success by a lot than the South Carolina offense, and that was really the difference in the game. But they did everything possible, and that defense played pretty well, and they knew what Clemson wasn't good at, and they understood the personnel limitations at wide receiver. That's really what it was. I mean, wasn't a great performance for the offense.
No, it was certainly not a great performance for the Clemson offense. It was pretty much piss poor for pretty much the entire game for the Clemson offense. We got 108 people watching us right now, Jordan. Shout out to the 108, 111 people watching us right now. Thank you so much for showing up, showing out. Hit that like button. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Me and Jordan do a weekly live video every Thursday, 7 p.m. throughout the season, throughout the off season. We also do a post-game live video like we're doing right now after every Clemson game. So if you guys would come and join us, we would really appreciate it. Thank you so much for showing up and showing out. The Clemson offense, to me tonight, was the story of the game. In
the Clemson defense.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about the Clemson offense, not in a good way. Not in a good way. They completely let the Clemson defense down tonight. They played absolutely terrible. They did not get the job done. It was absolutely painful to watch this Clemson offense move up and down the field, which is something that they did not do at a consistent basis at all tonight. This Clemson defense has carried this Clemson team throughout this entire 2023 season. And that's kind of been the story of the year for this Clemson team. What are your thoughts? Just sum it up for me between this Clemson offense, this Clemson defense, how much they've grown on each side of the ball, and what you see heading into 2024 and what this team looks like next season.
Yeah, I guess offensively, I thought they've finally found a good mix of how to use Will Shipley and Phil Mafah. Yeah. I think the offensive line, they made some schematic changes, and the offensive line has gotten more push in the run game than they were before the season. I think they've done a better job at not of the costly turnovers, not killing them. And it's still not great. They went the entire regular season without a turnoverless game, so not great. But tonight really it was just one, and it wasn't super catastrophic. It was just kind of disappointing because you had an opportunity to stretch the lead there. But yeah, the offense, I felt like there was only so much they could improve. I think you're limited at quarterback and limited at, offensive line was limited for a lot of the year, and you don't really have the skill talent to make up for it. I thought the receivers for the most part played a lot better than they have in the last couple of years, but it's nowhere close to elite or anything like that. And you can't expect them to show up every week and bail the offense out and make crazy plays every week. So this offense just is what it is at this point. and that they made minor improvements, but I think there was a ceiling to how much improvements they can make with some of their personnel limitations. So that's something to be evaluated in the offense. And then defensively, they've just been really damn good pretty much all year. They've had their moments, and certainly better offensive performances maybe hide some of that and don't shed as much light and make the defensive mistakes less costly. But between it's really since the Notre Dame game, especially like just to see the growth of this secondary, especially the young guys, the freshman class, they've really lit a spark for this defense, and it makes you excited about the future. Between Khalil Barnes, Avion Terrell, Shelton Lewis, you just have a lot of guys that are making plays back there, and that one of the things that hurt Clemson so bad last year was giving up big plays through the air, and despite playing more youth in the secondary this year, you are 1,000 times better in that department. And I think what South Carolina's longest pass was 19 yards.
Yes,
I want to say, and that was the first play of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's pretty. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean, the defense is this is a championship caliber defense, all in all. This is, what we typically wait till the end of the show to look at comments, but this one is interesting. John Sarian just put in the chat, one of our loyal mods. Glad to have you, John. You do great work. He was able to watch. Obviously, we don't get a chance to really watch much of the post-game press conferences until after this show is over. But this is interesting. Dabo just said that post game that many players didn't practice this week because of the flu. Shipley was one of them. Had some guys on IV this morning. Wow.
Wow. That may explain
something. That does put some things into perspective.
That may explain some of the woes that the offensive side of the ball had, specifically in this game. But at the end of the day, I'm not one to make excuses for the Clemson Tigers. I'm not one to sit here and say that one thing contributed to a 16-7 win or didn't. But look, at the end of the day, it's a win. Okay, all us Clemson fans can be absolutely excited. Bobby Durkins gets in. He says,
"Man, this is a star-studded man. This might be our greatest live chat of all time."
Hey, look at that. Hey, Bobby Durkins got in here tonight, commented on the Tiger Paul Craven and Jordan Bowman post-game live video on the Mark Rogers channel, the Voice of College Football Clemson channel. Shout out to Bobby Durkins. He is one of the most elite Clemson fans. Shout out to him. Thank you so much for supporting the channel, man. I can't believe that we have elevated ourselves to the level of Bobby Durkins commenting on our channel, Jordan. I don't know if you can.
In there, man.
I mean, look at this. We got Clemson celebrities commenting on our comment section. So shout out to Bobby Durkins. Shout out to Brian Knight. Shout out to all of his channels. If you guys don't know who he is, Google him. Just search him in the YouTube search button. You will find him. He is an absolute amazing Clemson YouTuber. He tells it like it is, just like we do on this channel. So, it's. I don't want to shadow this victory by talking about any sort of negatives. I really want to enjoy this victory because Clemson came out tonight. They absolutely stunned the Gamecocks early and often in this game. And then they continued it throughout the night. It was not a pretty offensive performance by the Tigers, but the defense absolutely got it done. I mean, just like they have the entire season. So for you, Jordan, just talk a little bit about the defense and what they have done for this Clemson Tigers team this season.
Man, it just, first of all, I got to give credit to Wes Goodwin. I think after last year, there were a lot of people that were, ready to sell some stock on him. The defense wasn't poor last year by any means, but they just, it felt like they lacked, they lacked that extra heart. I don't know what that extra oomph that those Brent Venables defenses of old had. And obviously the secondary play was pretty rough last year. We've talked ad nauseum about the big plays. They as a staff have talked about how upset they were and how disappointed they were with how many big plays they gave up last year. And I think Wes, himself really did a lot of soul searching, and he did a lot of self-evaluation, and it feels like he made changes to his overall philosophy, and just how he's done things. Felt like last year he was kind of relying on the talent to win games. You had Brian Brzee and Miles Murphy and Tyler Davis and Rukaroro and all those guys. That was a star-studded defensive line you had last year, and yet the defense didn't perform as well as people had hoped, and that was really disappointing. Trenton Simpson at linebacker didn't have his best year his last year. There was just a lot of underperformance. It was still a solid defense, but it just wasn't. They didn't play up to their talent level, and it felt like a lot of that was because they were just kind of vanilla defensively, and it was I thought it cost them too much. And I think this year he's done a good job of creating opportunities for his defense, whether it's knowing when to dial up the pressure, when to drop guys back. He's done a great job. He hasn't, it hasn't been as sack heavy as those Brent Venables defenses were, but I think it's been to the benefit. They still get a ton of pressure, and I think it's been to the benefit of the secondary. I think this defense this year just overall feels like a more complete unit, from the defensive line to linebackers to secondary. Although last year's was extremely talented and we thought it would be a lot better than it ended up being, this one feels like it was the better coached defense. And absolutely. I think that's the difference between Wes Goodwin and Mike Reed and Mickey Kahn doing a phenomenal job with the secondary this year and the young guys. You really just had a really complete defense. And again, they weren't perfect, especially early in the year. But man, what they've turned into, it's been pretty special to watch. This is, and I also want to, this is a good time to pull up Steel Gamble's super chat. Thank you for the $2. He says, this is the best Clemson secondary I've ever seen. And you know what? It's right up there as far as how they perform statistically. This is definitely one of the better secondaries I've seen at Clemson. And it was with a lot of young guys. We've had great, some really great secondaries in the past. 2018 was, the guys you had in that defensive secondary were pretty elite. Between Trayvon Mullen, AJ Terrell, KJ Wallace, not KJ Wallace, Kayvon Wallace, Tanner Muse. Even though at times he got a lot of ire from Clemson fans, but he ended up being a good player. Isaiah Simmons, I kind of count him in the secondary because of just how versatile he was, and he played a lot of safety. That was just a really, really good group, and you had and then the depth behind them was solid as well. But this year, it's been a lot of young guys. You've had you really have your two veteran corners in Nate Wiggins and Sheridan Jones, and then a lot of youth, and that youth has stepped up. And I think the safeties have been really, really great. Between RJ Mickens, when he's been healthy, has been good. Jalen Phillips. Those two guys were. if they didn't get to play a lot this back half of the season, play a lot together because of injuries, but man, like Jalen Phillips and RJ Mickens are probably two of the most underappreciated Clemson defenders we that have come through here. Like those guys have just been really, really good football players for multiple years. And it was great to see RJ Mickens get out there, and he made some really nice plays in this game. And then when you just talk about the young guys, I already mentioned them, between Avion Terrell, Shelton Lewis, Khalil Barnes, Kylan Griffin, this group they're young, they're hungry, but they prepare very well and they're well coached. It just reminds me of guys that they look like veterans already, and that's a rare trait with freshmen, especially since a lot of these guys, some of these guys weren't super highly rated recruits. Avion Terrell was a decent 4-star. Khalil Barnes, 3-star guy. Shelton Lewis, 3-star guy. Kylan Griffin, 3-star guy.
Mm-hmm.
All of them have developed into really nice football players. And,
these guys have absolutely. I mean, look, they have taken their opportunity and ran with it. They are the definition of guys that have waited their turn, and they got their opportunity, and they aren't looking back. I mean, you see a guy in Avian Terrell. I mean, you got guys that have gotten healthy. They can't get back on the field because this guy is just absolutely balling out week in and week out. I mean, it's crazy to see these guys. These young secondary players and how hungry they are to get playing time and to start for the Clemson Tigers. And I mean, you see them head out there every single week, and I mean, it's absolutely amazing to see the drive that these guys have to produce for the Tigers.
Absolutely. I've said it multiple times. I think Clemson, especially on the defensive side of the ball, they hit it out of the park with this defensive class. Just so many, like this is one, like I can't remember a Clemson defense that had this many freshmen that were high caliber impact players. And I think there were more of them that could have been had they not been hurt. Think of a guy like Vic Burley, Stephylan Green. We haven't even seen those guys yet. And that's really scary to think about. And it just, you had that youth, but then you still had that mix of veteran leadership. On the defensive line, we talked about TJ Parker and Peter Woods and how special those two players are. But, they're anchored by, the experience that Tyler Davis and Ruka Roro bring, and those are high-level players. DeMonte Capehart, he's a guy that's been in the program 4 years now. And he's playing at a high level now. Peyton Page has been in the program a long time. Cade Denhoff has been in the program a long time. So you had a good mix of youth and experience this year, and it was just a cohesive group, and they played so well together, and it felt like they were just better coached in a lot of ways than they were last year, and that was the difference. I mean, obviously, you definitely don't win 8 games without this defense. That's for sure. I could really spend like an hour just raving about how good this team has been, how great this defense has been. This was a nice punctuation point, especially for the older guys, the seniors, because losing to South Carolina, that's something that they don't expect to do, and they remember the taste that it left in their mouths last year. That's just not that's not something that any Clemson player has been accustomed to in a very, very long time.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. Look, and it's a tough pill to swallow for any Clemson player. A lot of the seniors obviously came back tonight, and they got the job done against the South Carolina Gamecocks. And they get to walk off into the sunset. Some of them get to walk off into NFL contracts and know that they came back and they avenged themselves in this rivalry, and that will be something that they hold on to for their entire career, including the NFL, because as much as the NFL is important when it comes to, dollar signs in your bank account, the NFL never means as much as what it means when you play for your alma mater. When it comes to your college that you played for. I mean, these guys in the NFL. I mean, you can see them. They make bets with each other based off of the college that they went to. They don't make bets based off of the last NFL team they played for. It's the college team. It's their alma mater. It's the team that or the college that they graduated from. So you've seen it all around the NFL with players wearing the opposite team's sweatshirt that they went to because they made a bet in the locker room, based off of their heart, and they lost a bet, so they're sitting in a press conference for the Jaguars or the Colts or the Saints or whatever team they play for.
Shout out to Sam Howell.
Yeah, shout out to Sam Howell. He had to wear a Clemson shirt because he made a bet with the Clemson player, and he
KJ
lost.
Henry, I think.
Yeah. Well,
More than
KJ
one
Henry. Yeah. So he lost the bet. He had to wear a Clemson sweatshirt, and you can just see, like, even in the NFL, even when they transition to the NFL, you can see that the team they played for in college, it just means more, man. It is it like college football is one of the most polarizing sports, I think, in America. Even more than the NFL, even more than a lot of the professional sports that are played out there, a lot of the professional sports that are, you know, you know, deemed more important than college football. College football is the absolute elite of the elite because you can see what the players, gravitate to. When they have a week off, where do they go back to? They go back to their alma mater. They go back to their college football that they played at, and they go rub shoulders with the coaches. They rub shoulders with the fans. They go on the recruiting trail for those particular universities. And it's an amazing thing to see for those particular players. It's a different breed of sport, I think, than the NFL and all the other, I guess, professional sports out there. College football is just very unique, in my opinion, and that's kind of what makes me, gravitate to it so much. And I'm sure that stands for you and a bunch of the other college football fans out there.
100%. It's the greatest sport on earth for me. Just nothing will compare. No professional sport can elicits the type of emotion and passion and angst and anger that college football does. I just
absolutely
there's nothing like it.
Absolutely.
Drew, thank you for the $2 super chat. Probably the comment of the night. Did Trump treat Clemson to Big Macs with the win? That would be pretty funny.
Man!
Imagine if he went out to the 50-yard line on Williams-Brice Stadium and just had a whole thing of Big Macs for the entire team. That would be pretty funny.
For sure. We talked about this on the preview show that we did.
We did, didn't we? Yeah.
And yeah, we talked about it not on the show that we did yesterday, but the show that we did last week. We talked about this and how funny it would be if Trump served the winning team, Big Macs and in all other McDonald's cuisine, I guess, on a silver platter at the 50-yard line if they won. So I hope that Trump served the Clemson football team Big Macs and McDoubles and I
Quarter
don't
pounders
know,
with
quarter
cheese.
pounders with cheese and McChickens and all the other stuff that McDonald's have to offer. I hope that he served that to the Clemson team on the 50-yard line, not only on the 50-yard line but on silver platters. And if he didn't, he should have, because Clemson got their 8th win of the season. They are now 8-4 on the season. We transition into the bowl game, and we absolutely smacked the South Carolina Gamecocks into next season, because guess what? They don't get a bowl game. They don't get any bowl practices. They transition directly into spring, and that's exactly where they should be. So shout out to the Clemson Tigers, and hopefully they have a couple Big Macs from Donald Trump and the rest of the politicians that they showed, I guess, in the press box that were next to him. I don't even know who they were, but I think there were.
I think Henry McMaster was there and some other, but I bet Nikki Haley was there too, because why? Of course, why wouldn't she?
I mean, isn't she a Clemson graduate?
Yeah, she is. She's on the board of trustees.
Well, there you go. Yeah, so she was probably there. Trump was there, and I'm sure there was quite a few other Clemson politicians there in the box with Trump. So hopefully they treated our Clemson Tigers to some Big Macs, some McDoubles, and some chicken sandwiches. I don't know, but they deserve it.
And a lot of fries. I do like me some McDonald's fries.
Of course. Fries, of course.
That's the industry standard right there. They're solid. They're solid fast food French fries. I'll never knock McDonald's for that, as long as they're salted. Like sometimes I'd be going to sometimes it's hit or miss on whether or not they salt them, and when they don't salt them, that pisses me off. But a good salted McDonald's, large fry from McDonald's, it's pretty good.
Yeah,
pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
This show has gone off the rails. We're starting
completely off the rails. We are almost an hour in. We got 90 people in here right now following us. Please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Me and Jordan do a live video every Thursday at 7 p.m. It's all about the Clemson Tigers. It's all about college football. We also do a post-game live video like you see right now, immediately following every Clemson game. But our weekly videos go throughout the offseason. We don't believe in we do not believe in the college football offseason. There's always something to talk about in the offseason. There's always something to talk about in Clemson football. So we hope that you join us for all of our off-season videos every Thursday, 7 p.m. Me and Jordan will be right here talking to every single one of you guys. And at the end of the show, we always turn it over to the comment section, and we let you guys drive the last 15 plus minutes of the show. So just keep that in mind. Don't go anywhere just because the college football season is over and there won't be very many games played after bowl season. Me and Jordan will be right here, still talking college football, still interacting with you guys. So if you're college football junkies just like us, don't go anywhere. We'll be right here. So
absolutely. All right, are you ready to kick it to the comment section for a little bit?
Hey, let's kick it to the comment section. Let's see what they got, man. Let's see what questions they got, what comments they got. What do you got for us, comment section? It's a hell of a way to end a Clemson season. It's been a disappointing season for most of the Clemson fans with the expectations that we had, but it is also the best way to end the season in a loss for the South Carolina Gamecocks and a win for the Clemson Tigers. So we can all hang our hats on that.
100%. John Yesen, he says, there's men's basketball to talk about this year, or for now. Yeah. Hey, listen, they look pretty good right now. I'm not going to – I made the mistake of jumping on the bandwagon last year, and obviously we saw how that turned out. But
Jordan about lost his mind last year. So stay tuned.
They look good, though.
He probably will again. So just stay tuned.
And listen, and both Clemson soccer teams are chugging their way along in the NCAA tournament. It's been a good week for Clemson athletics. The women's team, I think, is just locked up their spot in the College Cup. So basically, essentially the Final Four by beating Penn State today. So, it's a good week, and it's a good time to be a Clemson Tiger right now. And excited for always going to be following baseball and softball. Excited for those seasons. And obviously, I'm interested to see how this men's basketball team, shapes out. But hey, and Clemson, we still have one more game left. They'll be playing in a bowl game as far as the football team is concerned. So we'll be finding out, after championship weekend how that plays out. Let's see. Timmy B asks a good question. Who would you guys want to play in a bowl? Yeah, I think there were a lot of projections that were putting Clemson and Oregon State together. Obviously that would be a very interesting matchup for a lot of reasons, but I'm not sure I want that now, knowing that Oregon State, Jonathan Smith just took the Michigan State head coaching job. I wouldn't want to play a team that doesn't have their head coach. That feels like a lose-lose type of thing. So. Yeah. I don't know. I'd like an SEC team. I would like another SEC team. Always like playing the SEC. I just like playing the SEC. But but again, I wouldn't be mad if they match them up with a team that Clemson doesn't get a chance to play often. Maybe a Big Ten school but. I definitely prefer the SEC, or maybe a Pac-12 team. Who knows? Trying to think of who I would really, really want to play. I'd like to get. Hey, they're not going to give us Tennessee again, but I don't know. I think I'd like to get back there. LSU, I think that's a possible one. Yeah, that would scare me. That would scare me a lot because Jaden Daniels is very, very good and he's playing really good football. But hey, that's also a defense you can score points on. So I don't know. That would be an interesting game. Let's see. Whites look like an All-American tonight. Yeah, have no idea where it came from. Don't know what they fed him. Maybe maybe it took a little bit for those for the frosted tips that he's got to take effect, but I don't know. Who knows? Maybe they brought back Osterine. I really couldn't tell you. I don't know.
I don't know.
But I'll take it. He was MVP tonight for sure.
He was out there doing his thing and looked confident doing it. So
they weren't even like, oh man, he just snuck that in. They were right down the middle.
No, just nailed it every single time.
They, what a hell of a time to save your best game, I guess.
I guess so.
Happy for him because Lord have mercy, he's gotten it from the fan base. Although, he was put in a very tough situation, and he was the best we got. And it wasn't like he was on the team and just wasn't good. I mean, he was basically brought without a spring and without fall camp to really get settled and acclimated and kick. And I think that's admirable. And I'll, especially after this game, I'm gonna give him his flowers and salute him and appreciate, what he did for Clemson this year, because Lord did Clemson need those 3 field goals. Michael Forster with a hot take. He says, "Don't worry. After 2025, we'll play all the Big Ten teams you want." Maybe. I don't know. We'll see how that goes.
We'll see.
Drew says White's is going to have the next Disney movie starring a Clemson player. Angles between the uprights. I like that title. That'd be good. Who would play him? Like, who would be a good actor to play him? With the frosted tips. Who would they cast him as? Or like, who would they cast as him? Maybe like that's a tough one. Give me some actor suggestions. Ryan Gosling. I like that one, Ryan Gosling. He's probably a little too old to play that role, but he fits the description. Sure. He fits the description. Maybe the other Ryan. What about Ryan Reynolds? Make it like a comedy. I don't know. Jeremiah Allen says Chris Brown. Yeah, I'm not sure that one would work. Justin Bieber. Yeah, get his acting chops rolling. That would be something. I honestly, that would, current day Justin Bieber. I think that would work. I think he'd do a good job, actually. Well, I don't know if he would be a good actor, but appearance wise, I think he could make it happen. Steel Gamer says the kicking game has been a comedy. Jordan, yeah, good point. Good point.
Yep, it has.
Very good point. Chris Jones gets it. He says offense don't scare a soul, but that defense though, yeah, man, it's pretty much the only reason that Clemson won this game. But you'll take it.
Literally the only reason Clemson won the game. So because honestly, I feel like if you don't get those 7 points, off that scoop and score early, the game just looks a little bit different. I don't know. Yeah. I still don't think South Carolina puts I don't think South Carolina plays, well offensively all of a sudden, but I think offensively for Clemson, like you don't really get the thing, the generate the plays that you did because you really didn't have much going. I mean, outside of one big passing play to Tyler Brown, which, hey, way to fight through contact and get that, because that was you caught that ball, being interfered with. That was pretty impressive. But other than that, not a banner day for K. Klubnik or the receivers or the tight ends. And there were moments where it was open and just Kate either missed them, ball got batted at the line. That one over the middle to Olsen Pat Henry, he was wide open on that little RPO. And, credit to that South Carolina defender and getting the hand up and batting it down. But it's like, man, that could have been a big play. And you ended up obviously you kicked a field goal on that drive and felt like you could have gotten more, especially if you hit that play. Really didn't get many. I don't think Clemson had a trip inside. Did they have it? They didn't have a trip inside the 20, did they? No, I don't think so.
I'll have to look outside of the end of the game, the last drive of the game. I don't think they got inside the 20.
I don't think so.
I correct me if I'm wrong, or maybe they did one time other than the last play of the game. But yeah, offensively, just is what it is at this point. Yeah, K Club Nick Enthusiast. He says, happy to see no ring around the rosy. Yeah, I'm glad they didn't pull that one out for this game. I'm glad they kept that on the shelf. That's our secret weapon. We didn't need to break it out for this one. Um, let's see. Yeah, still out of drop one too. Yeah, he did. That was a pretty brutal one too. It was one of the only. It felt like even when Cade made a good ball, it was hit or miss whether it was caught. That was kind of disappointing because drops haven't been a huge issue this year, but it was pretty rough in this one. It's pretty rough in this one. Michael Ford, yes, Cade seems to have a lot of batted ball, and Michael, I don't think it's a lot of people say, oh man, it's a height issue, but I don't think it is. I think it's a lot of Cade making it very obvious where he's going to throw, and I think you saw that in this game. You saw South Carolina defensive linemen and linebackers reading his eyes because he doesn't really look off defenders all that much, and when he locked onto a guy, it was pretty obvious where he was going to throw it, and it allowed South Carolina defenders to get their hands up and time it and bat those balls and make it difficult for him to get the ball past the line of scrimmage. So that's just another thing that Cade has to develop and get better at. One of many things. That's just where we are at this point. You have a quarterback that's not really used to having to play quarterback. In high school, it was really just, he could do whatever he wanted. It was like playing outside. He had, great talent around him, good offensive line, wasn't really worried about getting hit. His receivers would go up and make plays. And obviously the talent difference between Westlake and their competition is a lot bigger than what Clemson has right now and who they're playing week to week. The other team has D1 athletes too, and they're allowed to stop you, and you can't just do whatever you want. And that's what Cade has to learn. And he has to learn how to be a quarterback. Making the correct checks at the line of scrimmage, diagnosing coverages, diagnosing blitzes, throwing the ball with anticipation. All of those things. It's just a lot of things that he didn't really have to do in high school that he's having to learn now, and he didn't really get much of an opportunity to learn last year. So it's just kind of where you are. All right. Anything else? See some people talking about Vizina. Yeah, Vizina could potentially make a run at the starting role if Cade doesn't start taking leaps. Well, I think Vizina has to take leaps himself. I think there was a reason he was a redshirt candidate, and you felt like you had to go get somebody in the portal. There's a reason he was a fourth string. He's not there yet. So I'm interested to see what jump, because obviously the biggest jump that a lot of players make is from their first to second year. So I don't know. We'll see. Competition is not a bad thing at quarterback. That's for sure. So, and Vizina is obviously he's a gifted player. He just, clearly he's not where he needs to be right now.
Right.
So we'll see how much what jumps he makes in the off season.
Yeah, he's got to progress as a player. So we'll see where he is later in the spring.
Yep. Like this question, Xavier Gaither. He asks, can Adam Randall come into his own at wide receiver?
Absolutely.
I still think so. I think you're seeing some flashes here and there. I think he has to be. I don't think he trusts his body. I don't think he trusts himself fully right now. It just feels like the confidence this year hasn't been there. I thought he's played better in recent weeks, but it's still not where you need. I thought that catch over the middle he made in this game was a tough. It wasn't. I think it was only for like 8 yards or something like that. But that was a catch in traffic. Guys barreling down on him, and he pulled it in. you see physically what kind of weapon he can be, but it's about putting it all together. He's got all the intangibles. He's got all the tools, the physical tools to be a really, really good football player. So I'm not. I'm in believe it when I see it mode still, but I don't think he can't be the guy that we all hoped. All right. Yeah, Clemson has the number 3 kicker in the nation committee. Yeah, Nolan Hauser. Been a great recruiter for this class too. Yeah, he's a good one. So it'll be fun to get him in and see how well he competes. Because obviously, you're not gonna have whites next year. And Robert Gunn is gonna have to figure it out, or you got to get somebody else. And we'll see if Hauser is the guy to step in and be that guy. Drew G says, big thanks to XT. Thank you for the $2 super chat.
Thank you so much, man.
He always supports the show. He says, big thanks to XT, the last natty player on the team. Yeah,
that's crazy.
That's true, isn't it?
It is true. It is true.
Wow. Because Rook was, I think Rook is a 6-year player. I might be wrong about that.
Is he, or is he a 5-year? I think
maybe. I know Tyler Davis is a 5-year player.
I think Rook and Tyler Davis.
XT was on the Natty team. Tyler Davis wasn't. I think Rook was a freshman, and he redshirted that year in 2018. Someone correct me, but I think he was a 2018. He was in that 2018 class.
Maybe, but shout out to XT though. Like, he played. I mean, and I've said it more than one time this season. His effect on the game doesn't always show up on the stat sheet, but XT is out there balling every single game. If you're just watching him, if you know what you're looking at, I mean, this guy is affecting plays consistently every single game that he plays, every single game that he is healthy. So shout out to him, man. I love to see it. I'm super happy that he is, becoming a factor in most of the games that he's healthy and playing. So, I just love to see a guy like that who has gone through so much adversity in his career, just come out and just really get the job done. And he gets held a crap ton. And I'm not one to bag on officials and be like, oh, he's getting held and blah 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 blah. But he truly does get held on almost every play I watch him from the line of scrimmage.
Absolutely. I think Justin Maskell is a 6-year. Justin Maskell is a 6-year guy too. So he was on that Natty team.
Yeah,
there were a couple of guys, and it's funny, like, they're all on the defensive line. So yeah, we're pretty much, after this year, we're completely removed from that. So there's nobody on the roster that knows what it's like to win a national championship. So
yeah, there won't be anybody next year. There won't be anybody next year. So we'll see how they deal with that. Because that's a that's something that's passed down from generation to generation in the Clemson locker room, and it won't be passed down this season because there won't be anybody left that has experienced anything close to that. So we'll see how it works out for the Clemson Tigers.
Absolutely. you ready to anything else, or are you ready to wrap it up?
Let's go and wrap it up, man. I appreciate everybody being here tonight. We got 66 people in here right now. Thank you so much for showing up, showing out, getting in the comment section. You guys really do drive the show at the end of the show. And it truly would not be a legitimate show without you guys showing up, showing out every single time me and Jordan pop on here, whether it be our weekly show, the All In Show on the Voice of College Football Clemson channel every Thursday, 7 p.m., or whether it be the Clemson Postgame Live like we're doing right now. So thank you guys so much for showing up and showing out, getting into the comment section, hanging out with us, talking Clemson football, talking college football with us. But make no mistake about it, regardless, we will be right back here next Thursday, 7 p.m. We hope to see you there. But until then, I'm Tiger Paul Craven. He's Jordan Bowman. Until next time, go Tigers.
Later, y'all.